Greetings again. This is Dr. Bill Wyatt with the American Orthodontic Society, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit, as good as I could talk, about C-clasp and using retention with retainers with C-clasp on them. And you have to run over the occlusion surface with that, and people bite on those. And I never use any kind of clasp in the orthodontics. I'll show you how I keep the appliances in there. And so let's get going, and I'm going to go in here and show you. Now when I make a retainer, we put an 036 wire. That's a 036 wire in the back, and come around the last tooth. You come up on the side and you sticky wax it in there. And then we take a 028 wire and go around the outside. I'll show you the pictures of that later. Get down here. So this is, and we use a triad acrylic to make these out of. Now this is one we just put, if we want to cover up the wire, you can just put acrylic over the wire if you want to, but I don't use that hardly ever. And you make this and put it in a deal like that, and you put, but before you go in there, we make the wire on the inside come up and come around these teeth, around your last molar back here. And then we put this as an 028 wire, and we bond with 036 and 028 together. And you have a little expansion loop in here, or a contracting loop, where you can make this smaller or you can make it bigger. And you can adjust the pull that you have on the anterior teeth. Now we do not use any kind of clasp at all, and they're going in here. But what we do, if we have trouble with it sliding out, we'll put a little bit of composite up here at just an angle, and it'll snap over that, and you can't hardly take them out. You have to pull the wire out a little bit, and it'll slip over. And we do that on both sides of the mouth, and that keeps the retainer in there good. If you've got a wire running across the top, you chew on that unless you cut a groove in here. And we don't like to do that. And it just works better without any clasp at all in there. That lets your teeth come completely together. They don't have any interference. I've seen people come in a retainer, and while they're wearing it, their tooth hits this wire and it moves during the night. You take it out, the tooth moves back. The tooth goes back and forth, and this messes up. People get tired of wearing them like that. So you just fix it where there's no interference for the teeth coming together. Again, let's show you a little further around now. We make the retainer with 3 different wires. One coming from this side, coming around, and then we sticky wax it in. Now when we come out with the heavy wire, it has to work around the back of that tooth and sticky wax it in place. And this is a solder joint. You put it either there, you can put it up closer to the front if you want to, and you can put this wherever you want. And then we put those little wedges, put them, and then, so if you, let me kind of illustrate that a little bit better. Let me get a thing like you've got a tooth on your retainer, on the side of the retainer back here. See, this is a molar, and this wire's running along beside it right here. And we just put a slight amount of that's not right. Of a good composite right on the tooth. So I will have to draw that again. Here, the wire would be here, and this retainer is the composite that should be a good bonded material is fixed down here. And you can slide the retainer over it, or if you want to keep it off, you come in from the top with this. This thing's not riding. Those styluses are not very good. You know, you put that on top, and you have this a wedge, and you slide that over that wedge, and that snaps in that position. And you can wring your arch bar out, and slip it off over one side, bring it down. But you can't take them out. And it's much better than having a wire going all the way across in between the teeth. Invariably, they're going to chew on that wire. And so that's what I try to keep that out of the way, and the teeth go down there until they work their way in. They wear themselves in. Now, here we'll just go ahead with this. Now we put a solder joint. I'd never have these break. I used to solder it out here, but now for the last several years, we make the solder joint. Now, let me tell you something. If you make this out of this triad acrylic, and we put a little bit of that triad. Now you paint your model with a little separating material. Put some of this triad down in the center where you're going to have this wire. And you want to make this long so you don't want to break this thing off up here. So you got this heavy wire going on out. And we lay this wire in there, press it down in it, and now you're going to take a sheet of this triad acrylic like that, cover over the top of it, adapt it down around the teeth, and then come in and trim it off right there, what you won't need. You take a board parker, trim it, and now you've got the shell of the acrylic in here, and that's, you make this after, let me go back here and say, when you get ready to finish a case, if it's a child and your parents are there, let them come in there and look at it. If this is what we're going to end up with, when you're taking brackets off, there's just a band space right in here at your close. You don't have any problem with that. So we take the arch wire out, and if the people say, this is what we want, and I say, what you see here now is what you're going to get. We couldn't do that when we were using bands, and you had to close all that space. And so they say, that's what we want. So, okay, you say, okay, we'll take the arch wire out now, and we'll take an impression of that, and we put the arch wire back in, and we build a retainer with it there. Then we have the retainer built. We're going to be able to take the arch wire out, and then we trim all the models, the brackets off that are in the casting. Just trim them off to where they're like the surface of the tooth. And now I insert the appliance in there, and they keep that. This was an old-timey heater. You put it in there and you heat that up, and it would seal that up. We put give them a little box with that appliance with your retainer in there. Now, The secret of this is keep this model that you made the teeth, made the retainer out on. Don't throw it away. Keep that. Now think how you have people go out and they'll leave this retainer out for a week or their grandmothers or somewhere or another, or a week or two, and they put it in their mouth and the thing doesn't fit. And they say, well, this retainer is warped. Or they come in saying, well, the retainer doesn't fit. You just go get your box there. You've got, say, this is the model that we made the retainer on. Do you have your old retainer that doesn't fit? And they slip it over there and it fits like a glove. I say, this retainer has not moved one bit. And so your teeth have shifted. Now we'll have to put it back in and you'll have to force wear it, and it will bring the teeth back almost exactly to where it was to start with. The retainer brings the teeth back. And so just remember, do not throw this model away. Keep it and keep a record for years after. And if somebody comes in 3 or 4 years later and say, my retainer, I broke it, you can, if you have to, you can fix it and put it back on that model, make sure it's the same thing. You can use that model so much to remake it, or you can patch that one up and slip it back on the model and cut it down at an angle and fill it in with acrylic, and you can fix the retainer on the model. So keep the model the retainer is made on and hold on to it. If they have nothing on the retainer to hold it up, we'll put a little composite underneath some of the teeth, and you put it in like what the composite be stuck on the tooth down under it. You'd snap it up over it, and that retainer wire will stay right there. In fact, you can position the retainer wire you want. If you put one down here and then put one at the top, that wire will stay in that position. You take it off, you don't have anything for them to chew on. We give them the box, we give them the name, and somebody will call us if they find it. And this is just an illustration of the retainers. And the retainer can be made to fit really close. And sometimes we used to make the front of them, sometimes their tooth moved a little and it would push it back to where it was when they started. My voice is just getting so bad. And that's put this acrylic on it, but we didn't like it with that. But I never used clasp. We call them C-clasp or C-clasp, however you look it up. But you do not need them, and you make a wraparound retainer where the wire goes all the way around, never crosses the occlusal surface of the teeth. And that lets the teeth erupt into each other and wear in just like the valves in a car or something, where they wear in, where they fit together really tight. And that's where we add a bite plate to the retainer. A lot of times if you correct one where you got a deep bite and you stop it here, you put a little pad up here and you bite into it, leaves the tracks of the teeth in it, and it won't deepen past that as long as they've got their retainer. So I hope you get some idea from this. I'm nothing against people that use retainers with clasp, but the wire runs over it, and nearly every one of them is biting on the wire a certain way when they put the retainer in, and they get their teeth move while you're wearing it. You take them out, they move back. So you do not need to do that. You just put little wedges of acrylic underneath the wire and it'll snap up and stay. But most of we don't have to put anything. Just the vacuum in the mouth will hold the retainer in place. So thank you again, and I want to say goodbye. We hope to see you, and I hope you'll subscribe to our channels. Thank you now.